Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over the Fall of the Mutant story arc. And we have to cover Uncanny X-Men issues number 220 all the way up to 223. Now, this is going to be a three-part story arc where we do see the X-Men getting involved when it comes to the hunt for Madeline Pryor. Now, the reason why I say the hunt for Madeline Pryor is because, let's not forget, over in X Factor Comics, Cyclops believes that his wife and his son are supposedly dead, but in reality, they're still alive. Well, we know Madeline is because we covered a video earlier where we saw her being attacked by the Marauders. Now, she was able to get away and she was taken over to a nearby hospital. And so now you have the Marauders getting word that one, she's still alive, and two, she's now beginning to ask questions about what in the world had happened to her. And so now we know the Marauders are trying to chase after her and supposedly try to kill her. But Scott Summers has no idea. But when it comes to the X-Men, well, they're going to get involved when it comes to her being hunted down by the Marauders. But before we are able to dive into that storyline, we have to jump over to Uncanny X-Men issue number 220. And the reason why, because we pick up with Storm about to leave the X-Men, just temporarily. And the reason why, because she wants to restore her powers. Because she lost her powers thanks to Forge. And so she is hoping that if she is able to find Forge, that he may have the ability to give her powers back over to her. And so her goal is to leave to go find him. But before she does leave, she has a conversation with Wolverine. And the reason why, because she wants to put him in charge of the team while she is gone. Now, when it comes to Wolverine, he honestly does not look at himself as a leader. And so with him thinking that, he says, no, I cannot lead the team while you are gone. Have somebody else do it. Why not Rogue? Now, here's the thing. Storm loves every single member of the X-Men, but when she looks at the team, she knows Wolverine is the veteran on the team. He's the best person to be left in charge of the team. Now, if he was not around, then yes, she would ask Rogue. But the rest of the team besides him and Rogue are basically new members. Psylocke, Dazzler, Longshot. These are new team members who are still learning how to be on the X-Men. And so for Storm, no, he is the best choice. And so she tells him, why did you think I came after you for? Why did you think I came here to talk to you for? Because no one else can lead the team. Only you can. And so he says yes. Now, the story does jump forward 4 days, and we pick up with Storm arriving at Eagle Plaza. Now, remember, when it comes to Eagle Plaza, this was the research and development facility that was being run by Forge. And so this is why she came here for, to hopefully find Forge there. Except when she walks in, well, one, the power to the building has been cut off. Two, the phone lines are dead, which that makes sense. And three, all different kinds of security weapons are currently depowered as well. But she also realized the entire building is a complete mess. And that is not like Forge at all. And so when it comes to Storm, she realized something must have happened to Forge. But the question is, what? And so then on the rooftop of the building, we do pick up with a character known as Naze. Now, Naze was the instructor to Forge many years ago. He taught Forge how to use magic. And the reason why? Because he was hoping that Forge would be the one to fight against a powerful demonic being. That's going to be very important for this storyline. But when it came to Forge, he was not really down with that idea. And so he left that life behind to go join the army. Now, when it comes to Naze, he's apparently at the same building that Storm is at, except he he was currently doing some kind of ritual. But in the middle of that, out of nowhere, well, it seems like he was taken over by some demonic being. And when it comes to this demonic being, it realized that Storm is also in the building. And this mysterious being who has taken over the body of Naze is very happy about the idea of Storm being there. But shifting back over to Storm, you have Storm continuing to walk around the building. And while she's doing that, the power comes back on. Now, when it does, you then have all these different kinds of holograms beginning to play different kinds of moments from the past when her and Forge were hanging out. Now, let me remind you guys, when it came to Forge and Storm, the last time these two characters met up, we saw the beginning of them two falling in love with one another. Matter of fact, it seemed like they did fall in love with one another. Now, even though Forge did take the powers of Storm away, she still has some kind of feelings for him. And so all these different kind of holograms that are playing past moments of their love, it makes her very upset, but wondering why in the world did Forge program these holograms to constantly play all these old memories. But either way, as she's walking around, she then hears a loud scream, and to her, she thinks it's a female. So when she goes into the other room, she sees Forge hooked up to some kind of machine. Now, at first, she does freak out, but then she realizes, okay, this is a hologram. But then she is confronted by Naze. Now, when it comes to Naze, he tells Storm, this was my doing. All the different holograms being turned on right now was for me to see how much you still love Forge, but to also test you as well, to see if you were ready to actually help me out. Now, the reason why he's saying that because he taught Forge many years ago how to use magic to fight against a demonic being known as the adversary. Now, like I said earlier, Forge did not stay behind to keep learning magic to fight against this demonic being. And so you have Naze saying that was his downfall, because now the adversary was able to take over the body of Forge, and that is a huge problem. And so Storm, I need your help, because you're the woman he loves. You're the woman who still loves him. I need your love and his love to help me save Forge, but to also have Forge use the magic I taught him to get rid of the adversary. Now, when it comes to Storm, she's not down with this idea at all, because the only reason why she came here was to get her powers back. That was it. But now it's kind of like, if I want to get my powers back, I have to help out Forge. I have to save his life. Even though we had a real bad fallout, he is the only key to get my powers back. Now, you can also tell that Storm still has feelings for Forge. So even though she does hate him, she still loves him and realizes it's the right thing to do to go and help him. And so she agrees. Now, when she walks away, we see Naze give us an evil grin to tell us that, hey, this is not Naze at all, that he was taken over. But unfortunately, now he has Storm on his side to complete some kind of task. The question is, what is that task? Now, when we jump into Uncanny X-Men issue number 221, that is when we dive into the idea of the hunt of Madeline Pryor, because we also get our first appearance of Mr. Sinister. Yes, this was the first time anyone saw him in Marvel Comics, and this was the first time we learned that he was the leader of the Marauders, which means that when it came to the mutant massacre, it was him who had sent the team to go in the tunnels and begin the process of killing off the Morlocks. Either way, he's very upset with his team about the idea of not being able to kill off Madeline Pryor, because like I said earlier, she was able to get away from them. And she went to the hospital, and she's been there ever since the time we saw her a couple videos ago. And so now you have Sinister saying, you guys are going to finish the job this time. You will not fail at all. Please kill her off. Now, Sabretooth, this is hilarious. Sabretooth thinks, you know what? I don't know who you are talking to, but I am Sabretooth, and nobody can talk to me like that. Dude, Sinister did not care at all. He said, hush, you work for me. You are going to do what I ask you to do, which is find Madeline Pryor and kill her off. But then we jump over to the X-Men. Now, when we do, we pick up with Dazzler, who's currently in the Danger Room. Now, with her being inside the Danger Room training, well, her training program is her fighting against Rogue. And this is going to lead into a huge problem. And the reason why, because it's Dazzler really expressing the idea that she still does not trust Rogue at all. And the reason why, because Rogue used to be a bad guy when she first appeared in X-Men comics, and she had tried to kill off Dazzler multiple times. And so for Dazzler, it's kind of hard to adjust to the idea of working alongside with someone who had tried to kill you. And even though Rogue has shown multiple times that she's a good guy now, for Dazzler, she does not care. She still looks at Rogue as an enemy. And so while you have Dazzler in the training room, Rogue sees what she's doing in the Danger Room and gets upset about the idea that Dazzler doesn't trust her. But before you have the two characters able to talk to one another, you have Psylocke say, hey, Wolverine is calling for every single member of the X-Men for a very important meeting. We did jump over to Storm just real quickly because you have Storm and Naze arrive at the Grand Canyon. Now we already know this is not Naze at all, but he's still pretending to be Naze. And so you have the fake Naze tell Storm, we have to go on a spirit walk. We have to walk the rest of the way to hopefully find Forge, to hopefully save Forge from the adversary. And so you have Storm agree. Now again, this is still Storm showing us that she still has some kind of love for Forge because she's still kind of concerned for him. But at the same time, you have Naze, the fake Naze, pretending to flirt with her to kind of keep her on his side long enough so that he is able to use her to accomplish his own goals. Now, the rest of this chapter is really more of the X-Men heading over to San Francisco. And the reason why, because, well, Madeline Pryor's there. Wolverine got word that Madeline is there because she called up the X-Men wondering, one, why she's there, and two, where is her husband Cyclops? And so you have Wolverine inform Havoc, hey, man, your brother left his wife behind by herself, and now she's in San Francisco. Where she should be is in Alaska. Either way, as soon as the X-Men arrive at the hospital, well, you have Psylocke tell the team, we are not alone. The Marauders are here as well. And so this leads into a few pages of really the X-Men fighting against the Marauders, trying their best to save the life of Madeline Pryor, but at the same time, they're trying to learn more about their enemies who just keep coming after them over and over again. And so it does take a while for this battle to actually end. But the tail end of this chapter, you have Rogue and Dazzler find out the Marauders have a new member on their team, and that would be Polaris. Now, Polaris did not really turn evil. She's being possessed by Malice, another mutant that has the ability to possess your body. And so even though our heroes see Polaris as the new leader of the Marauders, in reality, it's Malice in control of Polaris' body. But with her having control of Polaris' body, she's also able to use the powers of Polaris, which is really a hard challenge for Rogue and also Dazzler. But the battle must continue on. Now we do jump into Uncanny X-Men number 223. Now, before we dive deep into this chapter, I do want to mention that we are going to go ahead and skip over a lot of content so that we are able to just go ahead and wrap up today's video. And so we do pick up with Storm and Naze once again. Now, when it comes to our two heroes in the Grand Canyon, it has reached nightfall. And so they're going to go ahead and build a campfire and then just take a break and wait until the morning to continue their search for Forge. Now, while you have our two heroes resting, well, out of nowhere, a random woman appears. Now, when it comes to this woman, she does beg for our hero's help because she says that she's been followed and attacked by someone close to her. And we kind of find out it is her brother. Now, at first, you do have Storm and Naze wanting to protect her from her attacker, her brother. But we kind of find out that was a big fat lie. That her and her brother are actually working for the demonic being known as Adversary. The being that Forge was supposed to stop many years ago. And so now it shows this being is now beginning the process of trying to attack Naze, but also trying to attack Storm as well. And matter of fact, when it comes to the young lady who appeared at first as somebody who needed help, she turns into a creature, making it very hard for Storm and Naze to actually win. But after a few pages, you do have our heroes being able to defeat her and her brother. And that is great because now Naze and Storm can really take a break, but also have the ability to continue on to look for Forge. But getting back over to the X-Men, the rest of the chapter is really more of the X-Men fighting against the Marauders. And honestly, it's a great battle, but you have the X-Men being able to win this battle almost really easily. Matter of fact, you have Wolverine being able to defeat Sabretooth very easily. And I feel so bad for the guy because this entire storyline, he has been getting his butt kicked left and right. But you do have our heroes being able to save Madeline Pryor. But the question is right now, what to do with her? Like, do you call up Cyclops and say, hey man, we found your wife. She's not dead. She is actually alive and well. What should we do with her? But then on top of that, you have Havoc find out that Polaris is now on the side of evil, on the side of the Marauders. Now, at first, it was Havoc believing that she's actually evil, but you have Psylocke say, no, I read her mind. There are two minds in her body, which means that she is being possessed by someone else. And that right there does bring some comfort to Havoc, but at the same time, she still leaves with the Marauders. And so for Havoc, it's kind of a hard pill to swallow. The idea that you just lost your girlfriend to the side of evil. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.